Today we're going to do two things. I'm going to show you my favorite warm-up for calisthenics and handstands. And I'm also going to show you my favorite daily practice that allows me to continue to train at a high level, even at the old age of 48. We're going to jump in with the scapula, the shoulder blades. Before we do that, we need to give the wrists and the hands a quick warm-up. Now the big difference here is if we're working towards P-bar exercises, so we're going to jump on the parallel bars, maybe do some planche or some handstand push-ups, then instead of doing this variation on the floor, I would be doing exactly the same, but on the P-bars instead. So make it specific with the workout that you're gonna do, but the exercises are more or less the same. So I'm making the wrists and hands nice and happy to put weight into. I'm spreading the fingers, I'm placing the shoulders down on top of the hands, and then I'm just doing some circles with the arms straight. I'm going in different directions, just feeling how the wrists are today. And then I'm just gonna start to peel the hands up and down, different directions, get through the knuckles, through the fingers, through the palms. And once that feels okay, I'm now gonna go into the shoulder blades. Now it's super important with calisthenics and handstands that our shoulder blades, our scapula, can move into strong positions depending on the skill we're working towards, but also have the correct mobility to allow us to access the right positions. So I'm going to go into scapular push-ups first. I'm going to externally rotate the hands a little bit. I'm placing the shoulders on top of the hands, and then I'm just going to push up as high as I can. So I'm trying to round the upper back as much as I can in that position. It's like I'm trying to push the floor away, push my upper back towards the ceiling, towards the sky, and then I'm just going to relax back down again. Then I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to keep the arms straight, but I'm going to bring the shoulder blades together. So it's as deep as I can go, but my arms are staying straight. And then I'm going to go all the way back up, push out to that rounded position again. So it would look exactly the same on the P-bars. So all the way down to that retraction, all the way up to protraction. So if that feels okay, I'm now going to make it harder by going up onto the toes. So in the top of the push-up position, make sure that you're not collapsed through the hips. We want to make sure we're nice and controlled, and the main energy is all around those shoulder blades. So I'm pushing up to protraction and then down to retraction. Now if you find that this is much harder and you actually can't get into good movement here and you're starting to collapse, then just go back to the knees, raise the hands up onto something, so you're like doing like an incline push-up position. And I want to be able to get an easy 10 repetitions here, making sure I'm getting full protraction and full retraction. And if you do have a limited movement there, you'll find in time that will slowly increase. So you'll be able to move higher up into protraction, and you'll also be able to go lower to retraction, but will also build some strength there so you can go up onto your toes. Highly recommend videoing from the side, ideally with your top off, so you can see that you get into that protraction position where the shoulder blades are hugging your ribs. And it can also check that this isn't happening with your hips and you're staying nice and static there and all the movements coming where the shoulder blades are. Next, I'm going to move over on the bar. So I'm going to continue with that scapular mobility or upper back mobility. I'm going to go into a hang position. I'm just going to have my hands shoulder width apart, and then I'm just going to do a passive hang. So now if that's very easy and I'm conditioned to this, I can move the hands closer together. That makes it a bit more aggressive. Or I could even turn the hands this way around, making sure you have the thumb wrapped around the bar, and that's really going to get into the forearms as well. If you struggle with it, just have toe assist, have the hands a little bit wider and sink into that position. So the goal there is 30 to 60 seconds in a passive position. And then we can go into the scapular mobility again, or the movement of those shoulder blades. So I'm going to go between elevation and depression. So elevation is when I take the hands up as high as I can. Depression is when I take the scapula and the arms as low as they can go with the arms straight. So similar to the protraction, retraction, but now we're straight up above our head. So elevation, depression. When we hang, go as deep as we can, there's the depression, and then active, so as high as I can with straight arms, there's the depression of the shoulder blades. So I'm going between elevation and depression. Active, passive. And again, I can do 10 slow reps there. I can have toe assist if I need to. Now, if you don't have anywhere to hang, you can do that in a seated position. So I'm going to take my arms straight. I'm going to lift up as high as I can, so elevating, and then go as low as I can, so depressing. So the shoulder blades are going through that movement of elevation, depression, up, down, active to passive when we're hanging. And then if you don't have the bar to hang on, do the mobility with the thoracic rolling. So roll up and down, go through articulations over the roller. Now, if you have even more time and you have a bar, you could do both. Next, we want to get into the hips. Now, my favorite is a Cossack squat. But when warming up nice and fast, what I like to do is place the hands down on the floor and do it in a bent over position to start with. So I'm going to cross over to one side, keeping this leg nice and straight, bending this knee like I'm sitting into a squat, and then I just go over to the other side. So flossing side to side there. And then I'm going to load and go forwards into my hands up onto tiptoes and come back again. So transferring weight between the legs, the feet, and the shoulders and the upper back. Loading the upper back when I come forwards like a press handstand position. And then again back into that side to side Cossack position. Now as I get more looser there, I'm going to start to open up, go a little bit taller into that Cossack. So if I'm looking front on, you'll see I'm doing a squat on this side, keeping this leg straight as much as I can, trying to keep the torso upright, trying to keep the shoulder behind the knee, and then going over to the opposite side, same thing, going as deep as I can. And that way I can just floss into the hips. Then back into that one again, this time going down into a good morning position, so taking the hips backwards with the legs straight, loading the hands, going up onto tiptoes, loading the upper back, going back into the hips, standing up again. So open and close the hip position, up onto tiptoes, back, 4 reps. And then I quickly just want to isolate the quads, hip flexors, and then the hamstrings on the back. So for quads, hip flexors, I'm going to go up onto a bench, the wall, or just a lunge position holding onto the foot. And then making sure that I can open up through here. So making sure that chain, what's crossing the knee, crosses the hip, up to the upper body is all open. What we don't want to be is closed in any of these positions like this. We want to be open across the hip, open across the chest, and make sure that I'm feeling it down the front here, not feeling it in my low back. I can wind the hip flexor up more. If I go into a deeper lunge position and push the hip down, I can wind up the quad more if I come back into that position and get closer towards the heel. So I can purposely target different areas depending on where I'm tight, or I could just do a bit of both. I do that on both sides. And then for the hamstring and calves, I need to make sure that I go in at the right level for me, or the right level for you. So if you're someone that's super tight, I'd highly recommend that you isolate each leg individually and isolate the hamstring and the calf by doing something like this, keeping the back flat. If you've got more range, I'll be going straight in a forward fold position, maybe doing some bounces there if you're really comfortable, elevating the balls of the feet if you're super comfortable in that position, making sure the knees are locked backwards. You could go a Jefferson curl where you're rounding through the spine, so you're getting the benefit of the spinal mobility and the hamstring calf lengthening. But again, it depends on your current level. Then once you've done those, I'd recommend that you go into a movement specific warm up. So this is going to depend on where you're actually training on the day. And all I'd do is pick a very easy progression of that and do a few quick reps just to get some blood into those muscles. So it needs to be a nice, easy progression. So if I'm going to do handstand push-ups, which is actually what I'm going to train today, I might do some fast push-ups, just get lots of energy, lots of blood in the shoulders and the triceps. I might go into some easy pike push-ups. Now, because I'm pretty good or pretty conditioned at handstand push-ups, this is relatively easy. But what it does is it sends lots of blood, lots of good stuff to the muscles and gets me primed, ready to go. Now, the only other things that I would add to your warm-up is anything that you're specifically working on. Now, they could be red flag areas. They could be like rehab if you're working around an injury or something like that. Or in terms of red flags, you might have areas in the body that are super tight and you need to open them up. That's obviously going to be specific to your current level and the things that you're working towards. Let me know down below if you have any questions on this one. If you're after help with your training, check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au. I have my app and I have online coaching options. And I'll speak to you in the next one.